thought it was just an old rag doll, until she woke up to find it sitting on her bed, facing her, and giggling in the dark. The cursed rag doll. Emma jolted upright in bed, her breath coming in short, panicked gasps. She kicked at the blankets, her fingers scrambling for the bedside lamp. As soon as the room flooded with light, she scanned her surroundings. Nothing. But at the foot of her bed, the rag doll sat motionless, its button eyes glistening under the glow. Trembling, she reached for it, her hands hesitant. She had thrown this thing away. She was sure of it. Yet here it was, as if it had never left. Emma swallowed hard. Maybe she had imagined the sensation, the tiny fingers clutching her ankle. Maybe she had been dreaming. That has to be it, she told herself, trying to steady her breathing. Sleep deprivation, stress. But deep down, she didn't believe it. The next morning, she decided she needed answers. Grabbing the doll, she stuffed it into a backpack and headed to the antique store where she had bought it. The small shop looked even gloomier in the daylight. The bell above the door jingled as she stepped inside, the scent of dust and aged wood filling her lungs. The elderly woman behind the counter looked up, her gaze immediately dropping to the backpack Emma clutched. "You've brought her back," the woman murmured. Emma hesitated. "You knew something was wrong with this doll, didn't you?" The woman sighed, wiping her hands on her apron. "I warned you, child. No one keeps her for long." Emma unzipped the bag and pulled out the doll, slamming it onto the counter. "Tell me everything you know." The woman's expression darkened. She glanced around the empty shop as if making sure no one was listening, then leaned in. "They say she belonged to a little girl named Lillian. A long time ago," she whispered. "Lillian never had many friends. She was different, lonely. She loved that doll more than anything. She spoke to it as if it were alive." Emma shuddered. "And?" The woman hesitated. "They say one night something happened. No one knows exactly what, but Lillian and her family vanished without a trace. Only the doll remained, sitting in their empty house." Emma's stomach twisted. "So, it's haunted." The woman's lips pressed into a thin line. "Cursed. The doll finds new owners. And when it does..." She trailed off, her gaze locking onto Emma's. Emma's voice came out in a whisper. "What happens?" The woman exhaled slowly. "They don't last long." A chill crept down Emma's spine. "How do I get rid of it?" The woman shook her head. "You can't. Not like that. You must find out what it wants." Emma stared at the doll, its stitched-on smile suddenly feeling more sinister. "What if it wants me?" she whispered. The woman's silence was answer enough. Emma clutched the doll tightly as she left the antique shop, her mind spinning. The old woman's words echoed in her head. "You must find out what it wants." But how? The crisp autumn air did little to calm her racing thoughts. The city streets bustled with life, cars honking, people chatting, the scent of coffee drifting from a nearby cafe. It felt absurd, carrying something so sinister in broad daylight, while the rest of the world carried on as if nothing was wrong. By the time she reached her apartment, her fingers were numb from gripping the doll too hard. She locked the door behind her and exhaled, glancing down at the thing in her hands. It looked ordinary. Worn fabric, stitched smile, button eyes. But now, she couldn't ignore the weight of its presence. She set it on the kitchen counter and stepped back. "Okay," she muttered. "What do you want?" Silence. Emma laughed dryly. What did I expect? That it would just answer me? Still, she felt uneasy. She grabbed her laptop, sat on the couch, and began searching. Cursed dolls, paranormal objects. How to break a curse? Most results were vague. Folklore, urban legends, supposed exorcisms. But then she found something that made her breath catch. Haunted dolls often seek attention. If they are restless, they move. If they are angry, they escalate. And if they whisper, it's already too late. Emma swallowed hard. A sudden thud from the kitchen made her jump. Slowly, she turned her head. The doll had fallen from the counter. Emma's throat tightened. She hadn't heard it slip. No soft shuffle, no gentle slide. Just a single, heavy impact. She stood, inching closer. The doll lay face down on the tiled floor. As she reached out, a faint sound sent ice through her veins. A whisper, so soft, so fleeting, that she almost convinced herself she imagined it. But she hadn't. Hard hammering, she snatched the doll up and threw it into a drawer, slamming it shut. She needed to think. She needed help. Her best friend, Claire. Emma grabbed her phone and dialed. It rang twice before Claire answered, her voice light and cheerful. Hey, what's up? Claire, I need you to come over. Now. A pause. Emma, you okay? Just, please. I'll explain when you get here. Claire didn't question it. Be there in 10. True to her word, Claire arrived minutes later, stepping inside and shaking off her jacket. Okay, what's going on? Emma hesitated, then pulled open the drawer. Claire's eyebrows lifted. A doll? That's what had you freaking out? You don't understand, Emma said. It moves. On its own. I hear things. I feel things. I tried to get rid of it, and it came back. Claire gave her a long, skeptical look. Emma, are you sure you're not just a whisper? Both women froze. It was faint, distant, but unmistakable. A breathy, childlike murmur that seemed to slither through the air. Claire's face paled. Tell me you just heard that too. Emma nodded slowly. Claire swallowed hard, stepping back from the drawer. Okay, that's unsettling. Emma took a shaky breath. What do I do? Claire ran a hand through her hair. Okay. Maybe it's like those horror movies. If we find out what it wants, maybe it'll stop. Maybe it's... A knock interrupted. Her. Not from the door. From the drawer. A single, hollow knock. From inside. Claire yelped, backing against the wall. Nope, I'm out. Emma grabbed her wrist. Claire, wait. Another knock. Louder. The lamp flickered. The room's air grew thick, pressing against Emma's skin. Then, silence. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Claire let out a breathless laugh. Okay. That's officially the creepiest thing I've ever experienced. Emma shivered. It's getting worse. Claire straightened. Then we end this. Tonight. Emma met her gaze. How? Claire hesitated, then grabbed her phone. We find out where it came from, and we make sure it never comes back. Emma and Claire sat on the couch, a single lamp illuminating the room. The drawer remained shut, but both of them kept glancing at it as if expecting something to burst out. Claire tapped rapidly on her phone, searching for any clues. Okay, she muttered. So, The woman at the antique shop said the doll belonged to a girl named Lillian, right? Maybe there's something in the records about her family. Emma wrapped her arms around herself. She said they vanished, that only the doll was left. Claire's fingers flew over the screen. Got it. Lillian Whitmore lived here in town. Oh. Her expression darkened. Emma leaned in. What? Claire turned the screen toward her. The article was old, the scanned newspaper grainy, but the headline was clear. Family disappears. Without a trace. Child's doll left behind. Emma's stomach twisted. That's them. Claire nodded grimly. It happened over 60 years ago. The Whitmores were a quiet family. Neighbors said nothing seemed wrong, but one night, the whole house was found empty. Food still on the table, front door unlocked. No signs of a struggle. Emma shivered. And the doll. Claire scrolled down. It was found in the daughter's room, sitting on the bed, just waiting. Emma's pulse pounded in her ears. What if Lillian's still with the doll? What if she never left? Claire exhaled. Then we need to find out why she's still here. They decided to drive to the Whitmore house. It had been abandoned for decades, but according to Claire's search, it still stood on the outskirts of town. Emma hesitated before stepping outside. The thought of leaving the doll alone in her apartment made her uneasy. What if it moves? She whispered. Claire frowned. Then we take it with us. Emma recoiled. Are you insane? Claire sighed. Look, if Lillian's spirit is attached to the doll, we needed to find answers. Emma's skin crawled, but she knew Claire was right. With trembling hands, she opened the drawer. The doll sat motionless, its button eyes reflecting the dim light. Emma swallowed hard and carefully picked it up, half expecting it to twitch in her grasp. But it didn't. She wrapped it in a towel and stuffed it into her bag. Let's go. The Whitmore house stood at the end of a long, winding road, its windows dark and empty. The wooden frame had aged, the paint peeling like withered skin. Emma parked outside, gripping the steering wheel. I hate this, Claire patted her arm. It's just an old house. Emma wasn't convinced. They stepped onto the porch. The air was thick, heavy with something unseen. Claire pushed the door. It groaned open. Inside, dust coated every surface. Faded wallpaper peeled at the edges. The furniture remained frozen in time. A rocking chair sat still in the corner, as if waiting for someone to return. Emma hugged the bag to her chest. Where do we start? Claire pointed toward the staircase. Lillian's room. Every step creaked as they ascended. The air grew colder. Finally, they reached the door at the end of the hall. Emma hesitated before turning the knob. The room was untouched, as if time had simply stopped. A child's bed sat neatly against the wall. Shelves held old books, their pages yellowed. A small wooden desk faced the window, covered in a thin layer of dust. And then, Emma's breath hitched. On the bed sat another doll, identical to the one in her bag. Claire stiffened. That's impossible. Emma slowly unzipped her bag and pulled out the doll she had brought. Two identical dolls. Same stitched smile. Same button eyes. Emma's fingers trembled. What does this mean? A whisper. Soft. Childlike. But this time, they understood it. You found me. Emma gasped, spinning around. Lillian. The air shimmered as if the bending, and then standing near the window was a shadow. Small. A girl. Claire clutched Emma's arm. "Do you see her?" Emma nodded, her throat dry. "Lillian." The figure didn't move, but the air filled with something sad. "She kept me here." Emma's heart pounded. "Who?" The shadow tilted its head. Then, slowly, the dolls, both of them, began to shift. Their button eyes seemed wrong, as if something inside was watching. Emma backed away. "Claire, we need to leave. Now." The door slammed shut. A giggle echoed through the room. The dolls slid off the bed, landing on the floor with a thud. Emma screamed. Claire grabbed her wrist. "Emma, move!" They yanked the door open and ran down the stairs, out of the house, into the car. Emma fumbled with the keys, her hands shaking too much to fit them into the ignition. Then, a whisper from the back seat. "You can't leave me behind." Emma turned. The doll sat there, smiling, waiting. She screamed as the car roared to life, speeding away from the house. But deep down, she knew this wasn't over. Emma's knuckles were white against the steering wheel as she sped down the empty road, the town lights still miles away. Claire sat beside her, breathing heavily, her wide eyes darting to the rearview mirror every few seconds. The doll sat motionless in the back seat. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Finally, Emma broke the silence. "Claire, tell me you saw that too." Claire exhaled shakily. "Emma, we just ran from a ghost." Emma's stomach churned. "And the doll, it followed us." Claire swallowed. "We can't just keep running. We need to end this." Emma clenched her jaw. "How?" Claire hesitated. "Maybe we were wrong. Maybe the doll isn't haunted by Lillian at all." Emma frowned. "Then who?" Claire turned slightly, glancing at the doll. She said, "She kept me here. That means someone trapped her." Emma's breath caught in her throat. What if the doll isn't just an object? What if it's a prison? Claire nodded. "And whoever locked her inside, they're the real threat." Emma's mind raced. If that was true, then destroying the doll wouldn't help. It might even make things worse. She gritted her teeth. "We need to go back to the antique shop." Claire paled. "You think the old woman knew?" Emma didn't answer, but deep down she had a feeling they were being played. They reached the shop just past midnight. The dim glow of a single light flickered through the window. Emma parked and stepped out, hesitating only for a moment before grabbing the doll. Claire followed closely as they pushed the door open. The old woman was already waiting. She sat behind the counter, her wrinkled hands folded neatly on the wood. Her expression was unreadable. "You came back," she murmured. Emma slammed the doll onto the counter. "You knew." The woman sighed. "I warned you." Claire stepped forward. "No, you have warned us. Tell us the truth." The woman studied them for a long time. Then, finally, she exhaled. "This doll was never meant to be owned," she said softly. "It was meant to contain." Emma's chest tightened. "Contain what?" The woman's gaze darkened. "A soul." Claire's breath hitched. "Lillian." The old woman shook her head. "No, the woman who took her." Emma felt the room tilt slightly. "What?" The woman continued, her voice low. "Lillian's family didn't just disappear. They were taken by someone who had lived in that house long before them, a woman who practiced dark things, who wanted something from them. Emi swallowed. And the doll. The woman glanced at it. Lillian was the only one who fought back. She trapped the woman inside before she could take her too. Claire gasped. You mean Lillian was protecting herself? The woman nodded, but she didn't escape. Her spirit remained tied to the doll, watching it, keeping it locked away. That's why she whispers. She's not haunting it. She's warning you. Emma felt sick. And now, she's trying to tell us that the woman is getting stronger. The old woman's lips pressed into a thin line. Yes, Claire's voice wavered. Then, how do we stop her? The woman hesitated. There's only one way. The doll must be taken back to where it all began. Emma stiffened. The Whitmore house. The woman nodded. And once there, you must free Lillian. Emma swallowed hard. And what happens to her? She pointed at the doll. The woman's eyes darkened. If you do this right, she'll stay inside. Emma exhaled shakily. And if we do it wrong? The woman didn't answer. She didn't have to. 30 minutes later, Emma and Claire stood outside the abandoned Whitmore house once again. The night air pressed against them, thick with something unseen. The doll was heavier in Emma's hands now, as if it knew what was coming. Claire took a deep breath. You ready? Emma's grip tightened. No, but she pushed the door open anyway. The house was exactly as they left it. Silent, waiting. They moved quickly, heading upstairs. Lillian's room was colder than before. The air buzzed with an unseen force. Emma placed the doll on the bed. Now, what? The moment she said it, the air shifted. The whispering returned. Soft, desperate. Then, help me, Emma gasped. The shadow of a little girl flickered in the corner. Lillian. Claire grabbed Emma's arm. We need to say it. The words. Emma's heart pounded. The old woman had told them exactly what to do. Together they began. Lillian Whitmore, we set you free. This house is not your prison. The doll is not your burden. Go where you belong. The whispers rose, swirling through the air. The room trembled. And then, a scream. Not from Lillian, from inside the doll. The button eyes burned red, the stitched mouth twisted. The fabric writhed as if something was trying to claw its way out. Emma stumbled back. It's her. She's trying to get out, Claire yelled. Keep going. Emma's voice shook. You do not belong here. You do not belong anywhere. The air split open. A dark shape burst from the doll, screaming in fury. The house shook. Lillian's shadow turned toward them, her small face filled with something unreadable. Then, she smiled. The darkness swirled violently, then collapsed into nothing. The doll lay lifeless on the bed. The air was still. Emma and Claire stood frozen, their breaths coming in sharp gasps. Claire swallowed. Did we win? Emma stepped forward hesitantly. The doll's eyes were dull now, empty. A soft voice echoed, Thank you. Lillian was gone, and the house, at long last, was silent. The house was silent. The air, once thick with whispers and unseen energy, had settled into an eerie stillness. Emma and Claire stood frozen, their chests rising and falling in unsteady breaths. The rag doll lay motionless on the bed, its button eyes no longer glowing, its presence no longer menacing. Claire swallowed hard. Is it over? Emma hesitated, staring at the doll. I don't know. She stepped closer, every instinct screaming at her not to touch it. Slowly, she reached out and nudged it with the tip of her finger. Nothing. Claire let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Lillian's gone. We heard her. Emma nodded, but unease crawled through her veins. Yeah, but what about her? They both glanced at the doll, the entity that had haunted them. The thing Lillian had trapped had been forced back inside. But for how long? Claire exhaled. We need to destroy it. Emma nodded, grabbing the doll and shoving it into her bag. Let's go. They drove in silence. The weight of what they had done pressed down on them. They had freed Lillian, but in doing so, they had merely locked something far worse away. Claire broke the silence. How do we even destroy something like that? Emma tightened her grip on the steering wheel. Fire. Claire shook her head. We don't know if that'll work. The old woman said the doll was meant to contain something. What if burning? It just sets it free again. Emma's stomach twisted. Then we find another way. They returned to the antique shop. The old woman was waiting. She looked at the bag Emma carried and nodded knowingly. You succeeded. Emma pulled out the doll and set it on the counter. Now tell us how to get rid of it for good. The old woman sighed. You don't. Claire's face contorted in disbelief. What do you mean, we don't? The woman's voice was calm but firm. The doll was made to keep her inside. Destroying it would release her, and after what you just did, she will be angrier than ever. Emma clenched her fists. So we're just supposed to keep it? The woman nodded. It must be hidden, somewhere no one will ever find it. Claire looked horrified. That's not good enough. The woman's gaze darkened. It has to be. A long silence stretched between them. Then, reluctantly, Emma nodded. Fine, but we're not leaving it here. Claire crossed her arms. Then where? Emma's mind raced. Somewhere isolated. Somewhere permanent. Then it hit her. The lake. Claire frowned. What? Emma turned to her. The lake at the edge of town. It's deep, and no one goes near it anymore. Claire hesitated, then nodded. That could work. The old woman gave them a long, unreadable look. Be careful. Evil is never truly gone. Only waiting. Emma shivered. Yeah, we figured that out. The drive to the lake was quiet. They parked near the overgrown path that led to the water's edge. Moonlight shimmered off the dark surface. Emma pulled the doll from the bag one last time. Its button eyes stared back, empty yet unsettling. Claire held up a heavy rock. We tie it to this. Emma grabbed a piece of rope from the trunk, her hands working quickly to bind the doll to the stone. Her stomach churned as she wrapped the fabric around its tiny body, securing it tightly. Claire exhaled. Ready? Emma hesitated. Then, with a deep breath, she stepped toward the lake. She knelt at the water's edge, staring at the doll in her hands. You stay down this time, she murmured. Forever. Then, she threw it. The stone sank fast, dragging the doll down into the black water. The ripples spread outward, disturbing the stillness. Then, silence. They waited. Nothing happened. No whispers, no giggles, no eerie presence. just the wind rustling through the trees. Claire let out a relieved breath. "It's over," Emma exhaled. "Yeah." They turned back toward the car, and then a sound, a giggle. Emma froze. Claire's blood ran cold. Slowly, they turned back toward the lake. The water was still again, quiet, but floating at the surface. The doll, untied. Emma's breath hitched. Claire grabbed her wrist. "Run!" They bolted toward the car, their hearts pounding. Emma fumbled with the keys, shoving them into the ignition. The engine roared to life. She slammed her foot on the gas, speeding away from the lake. Neither of them looked back. They didn't speak for a long time. Finally, Claire whispered, "It's not over, is it?" Emma swallowed hard. No. She didn't know how, but she could feel it. The doll was still out there, waiting, and it wasn't done with them yet.